So again, retainer training. This one hopefully will be a little bit uncomfortable for me. Getting the guys to put pressure onto me. This is a really good way of improving your skills actually, and it's a really good way of me testing myself and thinking how much better I would need to be in order to position retainers and what I can do for myself, and thinking as well. Thinking in the client's shoes, using your weaknesses as your strengths and position yourselves well. These guys are all just going to hopefully fire loads of different challenges at me, put me under pressure and get me tongue-tied on how to sell retainers, but how to objection handle and how to turn those maybes into yeses and those no's into future maybes, which could turn into a yes. So feel free, pause, digest some of these things, write them down and use them in your own playbook. You don't have to say exactly like me, but it's a good option and a good way of developing your skill set, being able to handle those challenges and just influencing those conversations either for the future, to be your next great client as a retained basis, or for right now to win that business and turn that maybe into a yes. Right, so when you're ready, give me your best objections. As I said, your objective here is to fluster me, get me to the point where I'm tongue-tied, I can't able to handle it, and can't manage it. So, who wants to go first? It's being recorded anyway, so we're all good.
Yeah, so we only work contingent.
Okay, it's interesting. So, what's the reason for that, please?
Well, we've had success on that basis.
Makes sense. So, things have worked out for you. Now, have you worked on a retained basis previously?
No.
Would that be providing a firm could offer you a better solution than your current contingent offering, which obviously you've had a level of success, so I understand that may not be of interest. Would that be something you may consider?
Not.
Just saying.
No.
Okay. Well, look, might be a little bit difficult for us to work in the. So, us as a search firm, as I believe all good search firms should operate, we operate with our retain model, which we call our engaged, which is our proactive process. That does require an upfront deposit and therefore does have protection during that process, which the rest is and remainder is on completion with protection around that upfront deposit. But I'm not here to change the model of what you're doing at the moment. I'm not here to say that you need to go retained. If that is something that, well, let me ask you this actually. With regards to your current contingent campaigns and what you previously run, is there any, and of course you're going to tell me no because you're not going to want to go retain, but if you could change one thing about that process or improve anything, what do you think that would be?
Probably on time to bill.
Okay, so it sounds like it takes a little bit of time. And how typically long are you taking to see shortlists?
Well, it really varies from process to process. There's one that I can get them in a couple of weeks. There's other processes where it's taken a few months.
Okay, so what I'd say, Halima, is the way that we can work together. I don't work contingent, being candid. I don't believe that the model befits success. I think if I put it in this perspective, if you were in my shoes and you were a really damn good recruiter and you were incredible at what you did, that's the way that I foresee myself. I know, a little bit egotistical, but play with me. How would you think that you would work? If you were very good in your industry, would you work on a contingent basis where the client may or may not give you the fee on the basis that you may or may not come up with the best candidate? Or do you think that you would work, retain and partner with that company if you were very good at what you did? Tell me that you probably work contingent.
Probably work contingent.
That's interesting. So, look, I'm not here to sit and change your mind. I'm merely offering how we work and how we operate as a business. In my opinion, I believe that the best recruiters would work on a return basis purely because the contingent fill rate is 1 in 5. I'm going to guess you work with multiple agencies. Is that right?
Yeah, we do.
So if you think about it, you've got 3, 4, more or less firms working on this. Okay, so you've got 3 firms working on this, and you're only going to pay one of them. How hard do you think they're going to work on that process, if that's the case? I don't want you to answer that question, Halima, because I understand that you're happy with your contingent offering. The only way that I foresee us working together is if you come up with a scenario where you can't fill a search. Now, that may be this one, because you mentioned that you've already done X, Y, and Z already, and therefore I'm happy to have a conversation and look at a proactive approach to get that secured. I can tell you that I'll be the last recruiter you ever work with. I can tell you that you're currently having 3 conversations with 3 different firms, one of which you'll prefer over the others, and probably one that fills more of your jobs. But you like to go out to different options and different agencies. And I do get that because, premise, if you go out to 3 companies, you'd think one of them could fill it with the best possible person. But how proactive are they with regards to that process? So we can run that way. Now, I suppose the best question for you would be is how, you mentioned in the earlier part of the call this is a very urgent position for you, and that you've struggled to fill this role. On the basis that you've struggled, you've obviously already spoken to 3 agencies. Would this be something you would consider going proactive against if I was to put some protection level where I'm going to guess the upfront payment's a bit of a concern for you, that if for any reasons you're not happy with our service, I'll refund that upfront deposit? Is this position that urgent enough for you that you can change the way that you operate to do something different to get this filled?
No.
Perfect. That's it. So if we haven't gone anywhere else, we're going to move on and basically say, look, absolutely understand that. If ever, I'll send you the documentation over. If you do have a struggle, happy to have a conversation, but I can't help you in this space. I'm sorry about that. They'll respect you more for that, and that's absolutely fine. Okay? Can't win every single one, can't win every pitch, you won't win every concern. It's very difficult to turn no's into maybes and then no's into yeses. Very difficult. Play with the people that are maybes and play with the people that are yeses. Right, next one.
I've never heard of rule selection.
Okay, well look, firstly, I want to apologise for that. We actually spend a lot of money on investing in our marketing brand, but I also appreciate we've only been around since 2017, and therefore we aren't as well known as probably the big firms and Strack firms, Spencer Stewart, Heidrick, Egon, Russell Reynolds, etc. that you work with. So, what would you like? I could spiel on all about role selection and tell you, and I told you in the intro of our conversation a little bit about what we do. What would you like to know to understand if role selection can help you here and be the right search firm to partner with to fill this search?
Just how you typically work with other clients.
Okay. What typically I find is that a lot of firms, a lot of individuals like to know that we've worked with similar companies in order to give track record and basically the old case study model of, can you do it for them? You can probably do it for us. So what I can do is I can list off X firm, that firm, this placement, this job, X, Y, Z, this, and this, and that gives you a good indication of the types of businesses that we've worked with. I obviously you're based in the US. One of your concerns is probably going to be the fact that we're based in the UK. Would that be fair?
Yes.
So let me tell you a little bit about that. So all of these firms that work with us must work with us for a reason. So I'm not saying that other firms are not as good as us. I don't know them in detail, but if I was, let's say, this firm, and I had a choice of all the different executive search firms in the US, which I'm sure we can agree there's a lot of them. I'm sure they're all banging on your door like we are. It does ask the question of why they would choose to partner with a search firm in the UK. Now, my positioning around that is, this, I don't want to say the search model is broken and isn't effective. I think there's too much risk put on clients to be able to operate. I think the big firms put too much pressure on wanting to do the bigger deals with the companies like Warburg, Pincus, and therefore negate the low middle market. But I think there's a lack of actually working for the money and working for what we're doing. So role selection has been built on the difficult searches. Firms like Heidrick & Struggles, Spencer Stewart are our biggest BD element. Now, which seems like an odd comment to make, but because of the mistakes that they've made, because they've not been able to fill searches, because they've taken on searches and been sat on someone's desk for a year or something like that, we then come in and we then work with that firm to secure the right person and get them into the business. Now, I don't know why they've not been able to do it. Maybe our research function is better, maybe our sourcing process is better, maybe we're more attentive because we appreciate the value of what you bring in. We're not chasing Warburg and Carlisle Group, we don't work with those. I don't know the answer to that, but there has to be a reason why these guys work with us and they don't work with US firms that have a US footprint and operate there. What other questions do you have?
Nothing, I don't. I mean, the fact that you're over in the UK is difficult to sort of trust made in your hands there. Maybe a case study would help.
Well, obviously, we can send that all across. You mentioned that the fact that we're based in the UK. What difference does us being based in the UK? You're based in Florida. What if we're based in Washington or in Seattle? What difference would that make for you, do you think? Okay, so then before we get a person tongue-tied, they're like, well, I don't think it makes a difference. Probably get a little bit defensive, like, oh, well, if you're in the US, you know the better network. And I'm like, look, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. All I can tell you is that isn't the case, because we have firms that work with us and we have a ton of different private equity firms and we list them all off. So if that was the case, Mr. Prospect, Miss Prospect, then we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And I wouldn't work with the firms that we work with and we wouldn't have the track record that we have. and they wouldn't partner with us, they would partner with all the options that are on their doorstep. Next objection?
It's too expensive.
Okay, interesting. Too expensive in comparison with?
We usually work at around 25%. It's probably the highest that we've seen.
25% the highest you've seen. Okay, wow. That's interesting. So, well, firstly, I'm delighted that we're not the cheapest on the market. Everyone prefers a premium product, at least I do anyway, to be able to run with things, but I get why you're questioning me on that. So, the 25%, look, I know I've reached out to you, I know I've propositioned a profile, and we've entered this conversation, understood your need here, so you can easily, throw that back at me and say, well, I reached out to you and I understand that. But I'm going to guess if you're really happy with the search firms you're working with, you would have just ignored my email, moved on and gone somewhere else with regards to your conversation. So are you, and feel free to tell me yes, but are you in a position that you're really happy with the search firms and they're delivering on the level that you need them to do?
Well, yeah, we've seen good profiles, and you reached out to me with a candidate, which is why I want to speak to you.
Okay, well, look, I mean, we don't operate at 25%. Our engaged model is at 32%. I suppose I ask you a direct question, really. You've obviously got 25% relationships. If those 25% relationships are delivering for you, then clearly you don't need me, because we are obviously a more premium price service than your 25%. So I suppose it poses the question is this search you believe is going to be delivered on? How much urgency is there in that search? And do you think that your current crop of search firms is going to deliver at 25%?
Well, they've been looking at this for a while now.
Okay, so typically I get an answer of yes, which means you're backing those search firms to score, or I get a pause and then I get an answer that isn't no. So that would lead me to indicate, I'd probably guess, Halima, you're an experienced private equity investor, you've obviously got a firm that's successful that you're running, and a really impressive organisation that's looking to grow. The difference between me and you at the moment is 7%, and I guess that seems like a small number, but if I go below that, then I change the parameters of how we operate and how we run as a business, and you become my worst paying client. Now, I'm not saying that you want to become my client at the moment, I'm jumping ahead, I'm just propositioning things to understand that. The key problem that you hear is, regardless of the 7%, is your challenge with regards to filling this position. Now, you could get one of your contingent guys send you a candidate over tomorrow and the job's done, and that could be in the top of your mind. But I'd ask also a question is, if that's the case, then why haven't they already done that? And B, if that's the case, you wouldn't be on the phone with me. So there must be a reason that you're hesitant with regards to what you're doing. Firms don't look to us to go and fill the easy positions. I actually encourage you to do that yourself, as you'll have your own network and connections across Massachusetts. Firms look to us to fill the difficult positions and the critical positions and those roles where you can't have a B or a C player. And I know that gets overused as a term, but I want you to imagine your best investor in your team, the person who's really proactive, the person who gets the X, Y, and Z done, and that person you're just like, God, this person's incredible. That person's in your organisation and in your team, then bringing a person in of similar or better nature, I'm sure is going to take the firm forward. So, look, you know where I stand. I understand completely where you stand. You've got a pain and a problem and an urgency and a need here. I'm telling you, we'll be in a very good position to fill this. We've got X, Y, and Z firms we've worked with in the past. We've got these amount of case studies I can share across with you to give you a demonstration. What do we need to do to close that gap so you can go ahead, or do you want to continue on the same route that you've got at the moment and exploring the opportunities with the search firms that obviously aren't delivering? Any more objections?
Yeah, Alex, I think your firm are too small for us because we tend to work with big search firms and they always deliver for us.
Okay, well, if they always deliver for you, you probably don't need to be on the phone with me. So I may challenge that a little bit, Naya, to say, obviously, if that's the case, you wouldn't be running a search for a long time. So it's interesting. I don't usually come across our firms just more for you. What's just, if you don't mind me asking, Naya, complete off tail here, but what's the size of your firm?
We're currently on 5 billion asset under management.
And sorry, I assume when you said the size of our firm, you meant headcount. How many people are in your firm? Apologies, not a good question for me.
I'd say 65.
65, wow, okay. So, and why do you feel that a larger firm would be able to accommodate or service you better than a smaller firm?
Because they've got all the networks and we've worked with them in the past and it's been really successful.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, I'm not here to tell you that you should work with us over, obviously, a process that's clearly working. I suppose an easy question for me to be asked would be what you're not happy with and what's not working there. I don't think the size of our firm against another firm is actually going to be detrimental or beneficial. I could argue that the bigger the firm is, the more politics, the more rubbish, and therefore the more individual networks, whereas we share all of the data proprietary across all of our individuals. But I also don't know the firms you work with in depth. I'll tell you this, if there's one thing you could improve about the current firm that you work with, what would it be?
Nothing.
Not a good prospect, not a good client. So then I would say, okay, I know I reached out to you, Noah, with a particular profile. I'm going to guess your only interest here is seeing this candidate and not having a conversation with me about working with me. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you reached out to me, Alex.
Perfect. So discuss the candidate and move on.
Okay, would you also in that situation talk about how, if you think about positioning that, so they've got 65 people, so decent size firm, they're not the biggest firm, could you then say to them, or would you feel like your portfolio companies would all get better value from Carlisle than yourself? Because they're a bigger firm.
Yeah, you can use the old, they're a bigger firm. You could have asked, who do you work with, how do you extrude rules? Okay, it's interesting because I get a lot of feedback from them that you being a 65 size firm, similar to Archimate that we work with, but do you ever find that you're the smallest client for them? Do you ever find that you're not, because I get a lot of that feedback. I'm not saying it happens to you, you could ask those questions. Do you ever find that your search processes take a long time? Do you ever find that X, Y, and Z? Do you ever find that this and that? Yeah. Oh, and who are you dealing with at that firm? Oh, we speak to a partner there. Okay, and he works on your searches, does he? No. But if the person's really bought into them, very difficult to turn them around. Any other? Or any others?
The one that I had on Tuesday. I understand all this now. I'm not, I think we're ahead. I understand all this, Alex. I think we're ahead of ourselves here. Just share profiles, and then, if it makes sense, we can have another conversation.
But when you say ahead of ourselves, what do you mean?
You're just trying, you've just, told me about how you work in terms of a more proactive route there. So again, just share the profile with me. How I work for a lot of search firms, and I pay them. I'm not saying that if you share profiles, I will pay you. I'm just saying here, I just want to see this sort of profiles you have in your network, and then we can have a conversation in terms of proactive. I did tell you I'm currently engaged with another search firm, but again, just depends on the type of profiles you share with me. We could go down that route. Okay,
it's interesting. So you're already engaged with another search firm on this search?
Well, no, not on this search. I'm looking to have another search.
Okay, so look, no, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business now. I'm not here to influence you and push you in a single direction. I mean, if let's say you were my client now, I wouldn't be very happy with the fact that you were speaking with other search firms and you had a search and you weren't coming to me about it. So I'm going to guess on that basis that you're not particularly happy with the results that you're receiving at the moment.
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay, now I appreciate, incredibly busy, a lot on. Last thing you need to be doing on having a detailed conversation with me and another recruiter who's pitching you probably the same service that they did and then under-delivering. When individuals usually tell me that they want to see, send me candidates, send me demonstration, and I get that because you're going to measure me based on the individuals I share. Now, what you're asking me to do is to share with you the absolute bang-on candidate, and then you may or may not go retain me. Is that right?
It depends on the type of profile you send me.
So if I'm a really bad recruiter and I have the right candidate, you'd be happy to go retain with me?
I mean, if you have the right profile, why not?
Okay, interesting. So, doesn't guarantee you're going to get a very good service. And if I'm a really good recruiter and I don't share the right profiles with you, you're not going to know whether I'm good or not. You're going to think I'm bad on the basis that I didn't have the candidate and I don't have the person directly in my network right now. Now, look, I'm not saying you have a different model, I'm just saying that we operate in a different model. I can share with you profiles and give you indications of individuals. That doesn't show or demonstrate how good I am or what I do. What I'm good is at doing my job. I work for a search firm, I don't work for a job board. So I'm happy to have a conversation, I'm happy to build a relationship, and I appreciate this is our first conversation, and I understand and I do not rate the competition that will have that type of conversation and waste your time. What I'm saying is we're different, and we are not, I can't be measured on the basis of 2 or 3 candidates that I share with you to whether or not we go down a retain campaign. So what I'd like to do is I'd actually like not to share those profiles with you. I'd like to share with you information about our business, which I'm going to guess based on how busy you are, you're probably not going to read, but I'm going to share that across, and I'd like you to keep us in mind. So the next time that you have a particularly urgent search and urgent need and problem, I'd like for me to keep in touch with you, and hopefully I'll get in touch at the right time. But if I'm just going to be sharing profiles over you as a measurement, I may end up winning your business on the back of it, but I'd like to win your business on the back of the fact that I'm a good recruiter and I've got an excellent track record, not on the basis that I had a CFO that was right fit for this particular opportunity or another, and then we decided to work together. What it sounds like to me now is you haven't found the right search partner, and I don't think you'll find the right search partner by just asking for resumes and profiles. Push back on me on something.
No, I don't believe you don't have the right search firms. I mean, you reached out to me, Alex, so that's the reason why we're having this conversation.
Okay, well look, I mean, I'm only saying what you said earlier now. You said that you weren't particularly happy. I'm going to guess, look, I'll give you a list of my clients. If any one of these is working with other search firms, I'm not happy about it. It's not that I'm not happy with them, I'm not happy with my level of service, because it's not good enough, because they don't need to work with other firms, they only need to work with us. And the reason why these firms partner with us is because they're damn good at what we do. And I can assure you, Naya, that you join that roster list of the clients that I work with, I'll be the last recruiter and last conversation you ever have to have. But I understand this is not a conversation you enjoy, and having the same discussion over and over again with search firms, all you need is the best possible partner that will take all of your problems away with regards to talent. So, look, I'm going to send you some further information across. I don't want to take up any more of your time, so I appreciate you busy, but let me get all that over. And if you've got any difficulties with any processes, please give me a call. I'll show you what I can do, and you'll never have to have this conversation with another firm again. The only reason I've pushed you off the phone is because I can tell by tone and pitch that this is becoming a difficult conversation, and we've had quite a bit of back and forth. So I'll push you away rather than holding you on and then losing that conversation. And it might be that I go away and send them information, I keep in touch, I put them as one contact, and I follow up and I follow up. Okay, you've got to be aware of what's going on with conversations. Okay?
Mm.
Right. Anything else you guys want to go over?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I've taken a look at your team and there's a big difference there. So there's a lot of young people there, and there's just a big difference versus yourself. That you've got one principal and then a load of associates. How can I be confident when you've got a very junior team?
Absolutely, and this is something that comes up every now and again, actually, with regards to the team that we've built and the organisation that we've run. Now, what I can say to you, Halima, is I can give you all the buzzwords of we do a good job, we do X, Y, and Z, we do this, this, and this, we do that, that, and that. And it's easy for me to tell you how hard we work and what we do. Now, all I can tell you that will give you peace of mind or a level of assurance is there's a reason why these XYZ firms choose to work with us and they don't work with XYZ firms, Heidrick, Spencer,